So in this exercise, it's basically our introduction to dimensioning. So dimensioning, we wanted to follow a set of rules that kind of govern the placement and location of dimensions as best we can. Oftentimes the parts get complicated, so complicated that we can't always follow the rules exactly, and we have to do the best that we can. But as we learn these, we want to understand the rules, and some of the most basic rules are that we should, try to identify the shape, place the view in the place the dimension in the view that best describes the shape of what it is you're dimensioning, and also the smallest dimensions should go nearest the part. We want to try to keep the dimensions between the views. So just keep those things in mind, and we're going to just start off with this top front right side view over here on the left, and we're going to place our dimensions. So I'm going to use my linear dimension tool, and I like to go about it with a systematic approach. So maybe I'll do all my height dimensions first, and then I'll do all my length dimensions, and then I'll do all my depth. So if I take a systematic approach, I'm less likely to overlook something. So we'll start with height. So I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So the next edge that I find is this one. So I could create this dimension for the thickness of this part in the front view or the right side view. Now the front view better describes the shape of what it is I'm trying to show. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my my grid spacing, and I'm going to place a dimension here by clicking on those 2 points. And our grid spacing is a ½ an inch away, and our first dimension should also be about a ½ an inch away from the part. So I'm going to just use the grid to kind of rough that approximation in. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be pretty close. And now I'm going to continue to work my way up the part, and so the next edge I find is this line. So I can dimension it in this front view or again in the right side view. So your height dimensions will either show up in your front view or your right or left profile views. Length dimensions will show up in your front view and your top view. Depth dimensions will show up in your profile views and your top views. So back to this one line. It's better shown over here in the right side view. So again, I'm going to use my linear dimension tool. I'm going to select the endpoints of that line, and I'm going to place my dimension about a ½ an inch away. So working my way up, the only other dimension I have now is the overall height, and it can go in either the front view or the right side view. There's not necessarily a right or wrong place in this case. I'm going to go ahead and put it over here on the right side view, and I'm going to use my baseline tool. So it's one you probably want to get familiar with. So it's on my annotate ribbon, baseline, and it's not coming from where I want, so I'm going to use the select option and pick the bottom edge of that dimension, and it kind of staggers those dimensions out. So this one's still a little crowded, so I'm going to take and just kind of drag it up off of the other one a little bit. I could drag the other one down too, just kind of clean it up, make it look nice and neat. You don't want any lines going through your text. So we've created the 3 dimensions necessary for the height of this part. Now let's talk about the length of the part. So I'm going to start over here at the left side of it and move toward the right. So as I do, I come up with this edge. So again, I can dimension this in this front view or the top view. My preference would be in the front view because it's actually, you can see the thickness of what it is you're trying to show. And again, we're going to come up to about a ½ an inch away from the part. Moving on, the next edge I find is this one, which can be shown in the top or the front. In my opinion, it's better shown in the top view. So again, I'm going to dimension this thickness, come down about a ½ an inch, place that dimension. And the final one is the overall length. Again, it can go in the front view or the right side view. Probably just going to follow suit and use my baseline tool just like I did before. So I have my height and I have my length, and the only thing I lack is my depth. So I'm going to start back here on the back and work my way across the depth of this. So the first edge I come to is here. I can dimension it in this top view or this right side view. The better place is in the top view. So again, I'm going to pick on the outside edge of those endpoints. So we've defined that. So I continue to move down. I find this edge. So I can dimension this edge in the top view or the right side view. The shape of what I'm dimensioning is better shown in the right side view. So I'm going to place that dimension. And then finally, the overall is all I have left. So again, I'm going to use my baseline tool. I'm going to come off this other end and come right into the overall length of that. So we've completely dimensioned this part. Okay, hopefully that'll help get you going in the right direction. Some things to point out is that we have little gaps everywhere the extension lines separate from the object lines. So the extension lines, the green lines, should not run into the gray lines. There should always be a little gap there. So let's move over and do the same thing on this part. And this part has a hole, has a couple of holes. So whenever time we have a hole, we want to locate and position and dimension that hole where we see the circles. Okay, so in one view it'll be a circle like this, and in the adjacent views it'll be a rectangle like this. So we always dimension and locate and position that hole in the view. But again, I still follow my systematic approach. So I'm going to start with the height. So I start at the bottom, work my way up. It's better shown over here on this side. So I'm going to put my dimension in over here. Come out about a ½ inch. Continuing up. Now I need to locate the center of that. We just discussed that should be shown in that view. Continue up. The overall height, I think I'll use my baseline tool. So I've got my height dimensions taken care of. Now I'll probably do my length dimensions. So again, we start here and we work our way. So the first thing we're going to come to is going to be the center of both of these. I think in this case, since there's two features, I'm probably going to put one here. And I don't think I would put another one. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if you did, but these are going to be essentially the same, and we can see that through the graphics of this center line, so we can omit this one. As I keep moving on, the only other thing I have is the overall length. So I'm going to use my baseline tool for the overall length. So we have our length, we have our height, and now we need our depth. So if we start back here at the depth, we come to this edge. That thickness is better shown here. And then we can give an overall depth here. Now this part has a couple of other dimensions that we need to keep in mind. We need to tell the maker the diameter of a hole. So we have a full hole here. So we're going to give that as a diameter. And here we have a partial circle. So we're going to give that as a radius. So that's kind of your indicators. If it's a full circle, it's given as a diameter. If it's a partial circle, it's given as a radius. And we also have these radius here. So there's two of those, so we're going to edit this text. Press the home key to go in front, and I'm going to put a 2x space. So now there's two of those radiuses. Now this part is completely dimensioned, and that's a good start on our introduction to dimensioning. So hopefully this will get you going in the right direction where you can submit this, get this exercise turned in. If you have any questions, send me an email. Thanks.